Alright guys, welcome back to VALORANT News. Masters Madrid is well underway and two teams already confirmed all the way through to the playoffs already. Two teams that are 2-0. Gen.G is one, Sentinels are the other. Kaplan, the coach of the team, responds to Riot Games and all the decisions they made as to exactly how Sentinels found themselves in this spot, and arguably a very unfair situation that Kaplan calls out, but then they go on to dominate the series regardless. Very much intrigued your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always, I would greatly appreciate it. Loads of storylines of course today. There's plenty to discuss here on Sentinels, whether they are now like officially the best team in the world. Look, time will only tell who actually wins the event here, but the results they have had, especially against EMEA teams so far, very impressive indeed. And yeah, Fnatic unable to do anything about it for the time being, right? There was also this that was noted as well, that Sentinels, I feel like when you watch them play right now, they are trying to exploit every single little advantage they can go for. It's been noted really that lots of top teams still like buying Vandals because, you know, player preference and all this. But if there's lots of smokes on the map, close range fights, the Phantom is the preferable option statistically. That's what the data indicates. There's also a feeling sometimes from the pros that on a LAN environment with no ping, the Phantom tends to be even better. So that's generally what you see Sentinels do, like their Odin use as well. There's other things that it just seems like Sentinels are just slightly ahead of the game in like almost every single way right now, and it's really impressive to watch because I thought yesterday, given the difficulties that Sentinels had going into this series, they played Heretics. They didn't play their best Valorant for sure. They then had to go home that night, prepare, not much time to prepare, for Carmine Corp the next day, the very first game. And that was the frustration that Kaplan made clear as to the turnaround time for Sentinels. The fact that not only did they play the very next day, but the fact that they played the last game of the day before, the first game of the next day. KC have ample time, an entire extra day to practice and prepare and get ready for that series. Sentinels did not have that luxury at all. And then they have to face the KC team that just won in EMEA and pretty much crushed it out that region during their playoffs, or during, you know, their kickoff event that they ran a little while ago. But Sentinels come out and they just get the job done regardless. TenZ comes out round one, pops an ace here with the Sentinels bundle on, and I'm sure he got a good few sales as a result of that. And what a duo these guys are as well, TenZ and JohnQT. This was, you know, being thrown around as well because, you know, you've got TenZ, then you've got Moroccan TenZ, which is basically how it works. And as JohnQT says here, I promised TenZ of the MVPs, I'll post this picture. I'm a man of my word, so, you know, twin buff. Now, the story behind this, if you guys aren't familiar with it, is TenZ actually said back in, I think this is Korea, right, for the Africa TV tournament, when they were staying in this Airbnb, and they ended up sharing a bed together, and because he's used to sleeping with Kaide, he was, like, cuddling up to, you know, usually cuddles up to Kaide, right? But in this case, he wakes up, like, a few hours in, and he's just cuddling, JohnQT, and he's like, wait, what is going on right now? Trying to kind of, like, get off him a little bit, and I just thought it was a pretty funny story, to be fair. It was wild, as TenZ says, but you know, just building up that chemistry, you know, and that's what matters right now. Genuinely, Zekken and TenZ are both comfortably top 5 players in the game, in my opinion. Zekken might well be number 1. I think you can absolutely make the argument for that in terms of impact and everything this guy does to the table, but I also feel like TenZ is almost getting, not overlooked, people know how good TenZ is, but the impact that TenZ is having right now, like the clutches that he wins, the plays that he makes, especially on the roles that he runs, is just incredibly good to look at. And this is the other thing that Sentinels have to offer, is that Sassy has not played well so far this tournament. He admits that himself, and he says, like, I've got to get better, I will get better. And yet, this is the level from Sentinels that we're already seeing, right? So, Zekken on the Raze, dominated Narrate in this series. I mean, look, Narrate, there was obviously some talk about Narrate, and we'll go on to discuss him a little bit more in a second, because there were some rumours as to where he was going to go in this off-season if this KC move never actually happens. And people are saying, oh, you know, he's doing an artist, he's an undercover agent, right, for EMEA, or in this case for NA, to take down the EMEA teams to allow Zekken and the boys to go through. But, yeah, a clean 2-0. And it seems like Sentinels are channeling all of their energy in the right domain at the moment, right? Like Kaplan, clearly there were some frustrations. The fact that the way this is organised in the first place, firstly, the question as to whether the bracket was predetermined. We, of course, talked about it in some depth yesterday, given that Sen KC on paper was the most exciting matchup from a brand perspective. The two fan bases are massive. But then again, they arguably kind of squandered that by the timings. By putting Gen.G EDG later in the day, they restricted the ability from those in those regions to actually watch because it becomes rather later for those guys. So really that should have been the first game of the day, which it was going to be, but then they swapped them around for kind of unknown reasons. There's been a theory, as I said yesterday, that because of like the League of Legends crossover with KC, they wanted to change around the timings. That might be what it is, I don't know. But Kaplan and Sentinels clearly felt kind of hard done by that. Not only did they get the theoretically hardest round game that they could have had next, and okay, we'll talk about Gen.G. They might play each other very soon indeed. We'll discuss in a second. But on paper, KC were probably the hardest team they had to play, and during the course of the day, they had the first game, which obviously made it harder, right? But I feel like all that energy and the passion and the frustration is coming out in a good way, because as Kaplan says, keep giving us the hardest red possible. I don't care. We're going to keep on winning, right? And this is the tweet that Zekken made, since deleted, after they beat Heretics, saying leaving the arena at midnight, having first match tomorrow is actually insanity, no biggie, and it feels like they channeled the energy positively. So I'll just share here what Kaplan had to say, and basically just calling out Riot straight up.
Giving me a few
moments
of your time. Good to see you, brother. All right, man, this is obviously a quick turnaround time for you guys. Really, how you feeling about the squad going into it? Are you feeling comfortable, especially against a formidable opponent in Carmine Corp?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a tough
I like how
game.
you grabbed the mic.
They've had 2 nights to rest and 1 full day to clean up their game. We've had 1 full night to rest, and in the case of us, coaches not rest. It's not fair, and it doesn't make any sense.
Oh,
being said, we're no stranger to tough, and we're not taking any excuses. If we lose, that's on us. So.
It is kind of messed up. It is kind of messed up. I like how he said it straight up. I like how he looked in the camera too.
Also, quite a lot of people I saw say that they initially saw, because Sin KC was meant to be the second game, that's how it was meant to be, and that was said, and then they changed their mind on it, and there's quite a few people that ended up missing map 1 or even map 2 or the whole series of Sentinels KC because they didn't know they changed it around right. So just a strange situation for all involved, but as I say, I think Sentinels are challenging things or kind of channeling things properly, and as Sassy says here, he doesn't think he's played particularly well so far, but he promises that when he gets to the playoff, he's going to play a lot better, right? So, and that's the point. Sassy has not played his best Valorant at all, and as we see here, Sassy is, unmatched in terms of being the only bold player to attend 2024 Valorant Masters Madrid, but they are now comfortably through to the playoffs, and this 2-0 was really impressive. I mean, if you look at the numbers, they really just speak for themselves. TenZ and JohnQT had monster maps here. It's really tough to say who the best players are in the world, because a few of them are on Sentinels, and in terms of impact, JohnQT to me has been like the best addition they could even ask for. People say that he's FNS, but he can shoot straight, right? Is what people joke around about, and I feel kind of bad for FNS catching straights, but that is kind of what it is. Like, big brain at Masterclass, but also he gets a load of frags, and that is just a deadly combination. 13-8 on the split. Gotta talk about Sentinels split as well. Like, I just don't see how you beat this Sentinels team on split. It's gonna happen eventually, but man, they are so good at this map. It's actually borderline ridiculous. Their retakes on the second side were complete masterclasses, and there was just nothing that KC could do about it. They got slammed in this one, 13-8. The latest was 13-11 on KC's pick. This was a closer fought affair, but, it went 11-11, and Sentinels always felt like they had enough, and TenZ had a monster map here again on the Omen. Just so much impact, right? So, just another absurd performance here from Sentinels. They move on 2-0, and they are now, absolutely rock-solid favourites for the entire tournament, right? Like, red-hot favourites to win the entire thing. Even Sentinels themselves say best in the world, Sen have secured playoffs. So there's more to confirm on that, but I genuinely think that it's true. I don't see a team that's playing better Valorant right now than Sentinels are. And if Sassy plays a bit better in the playoffs, then, they are favourites to win this tournament. They've beaten everyone that's in front of them so far in their own region and now internationally. The only thing yet to see is them play one of the very top teams from the APAC region, potentially China. And that could well be Gen.G that we'll discuss right about now. So Gen.G also played their series up against Edward Gaming. This was kind of more interesting, right, because it went to a game 3. There was also discussion yesterday that, between Som and Tarek and everyone that, Narrate was meant to join NRG. We heard the rumours a while ago now that Sinatra was getting trialled over there, Narrate was getting trialled over there. That was a possibility, but once they got Demon 1 and Ethan, and that duo was available from Evil Geniuses, they went down that route instead and decided to kind of, move on from Narrate. And of course, the rest is history on that front with the KC side. Do I think they've made a bad decision to get Demon 1? I mean, come on. I think people are underestimating what Demon 1 is able to do. But nonetheless, that was a possibility that NRG didn't go for in the end. And we'll see if over time that might come back to bite them. Because of course, Narrate here, he is already at an international event, potentially looking good to go one step further. But Gen.G, they continue their run. Second team to qualify for the playoffs. They've made made some big changes, and the final map of this series was super impressive, right? But game 1, Lakia decided just to leave his teammates out to dry. He had 3 kills on that, 1 on the icebox. That Edward Gaming 1 on their pick. I think the concerning thing for Edward is that, again, it is effectively the KangKang show, what we see here. They played the split and it was 13-5 on Edward's pick. KangKang had 401 ACS, by the way, for the loss here. And then map 3 on the Breeze, he had 214 ACS for a very comfortable 13-6 loss. They dominated the first side. So I'm really impressed by Gen.G. Texture, Lakia decided to actually play Valorant on the final map as well. But everyone's holding their own here on Gen.G right now. And I just think for Edward Gaming, again, they look solid at times. They have their maps where they look really impressive. But if it's only KangKang consistently delivering these top-level performances, then it just becomes very challenging for them to make it further. But of course, they are still alive. They're now 1-1, and we'll see after today which teams they are going to end up playing, right? So this is how it stands. Sentinels are through to the playoffs at 2-0. Gen.G through to the playoffs at 2-0. Very, well, not comfortable necessarily, but Sentinels and Gen.G both made it through in kind of Brawler series. But 2-0, that's where you want to be. The 0-1 teams are as follows. By the end of today, we will only have 1 of Loud FPX and 1 of PaperX. Team Heretics left in the tournament. Whoever wins those will then be drawn, hopefully randomly, but we'll see, against the 1-1 teams, and then the winner of these series then goes on to the playoffs. So a longer, more grueling road for these teams and losers. Sen and Gen.G get a good couple of days now to sit back and relax and prepare for what is going to come next, and then when we get to the playoffs, I think that it's going to be assigned between, well, a 2-0 team can't play another 2-0 team. So yeah, basically, Sen will play one of these 4, as will Gen.G, and then Sen and Gen.G, if they are to win those series respectively, will then move on to play each other potentially at some point in the future in what is going to be a double elimination bracket. So this is how things look so far. The playoffs then look like this. We get the 4 teams. Sen and Gen.G already locked in. Obviously, it's only the winner of the tournament that gets the 3 circuit points for the World Championship qualification, but everyone really cares about lifting the trophy at the end of Masters Madrid, and well, some teams, especially these guys, are getting rather close to making that happen. But very much intrigued your thoughts on all this stuff in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, take care, and I'll see you next time.